Hey everybody, welcome to the Rebel Call channel. And here on my channel, I want to talk about things that are positive. I want to talk about love winning all the time. And I really want to talk about all of this stuff with the climate because it's really important that we all understand about the climate. Because if we don't do something about the climate now, our greatest grandkids might deal with the climate temperature being about 1 degree hotter in about 700 years. And of course, that'll all be because of the stuff coming out of the plains above. But I got to be careful what I say. So we need to do something about it. We need to do our part. And I need everyone, who's found my channel organically. I don't know how you found me, but thanks for finding me and subscribing. It shows me that you love my content here on YouTube as a new YouTuber. So that's great. And now what I want to do is I want to be proactive in the community. I want to be an activist. Okay, and today I want to talk about practical ways that you and me can reduce our stinky carbon footprint, right? Because they always show us a picture of a footprint, right? But there's something about the carbon footprint. It's really smelly, right? I mean, carbon is smelly, not the carbon footprint's good. The carbon footprint's good. So this is an article by Wired that I want to read, and I want to tell you some of the stuff in it, and I want to tell you and lecture you on why you should do it. So it starts off by saying the history of the carbon footprint is a complicated one. The term itself refers to the total carbon emissions of all your everyday activities, your drive to work, the food you eat, how you heat your home. But did you know who first popularized it? Over 2 decades ago, the oil giant BP, one of the highest emitting companies in the world, promoted the snappy phrase as part of a marketing campaign. Oh, cool. The average person in the UK has a carbon footprint of about 5.5 tons per year. Global greenhouse gas emissions are about 50 billion. Sorry, I was falling asleep there. Okay, I'm going to get past this part of it because this is the part that puts people to sleep. And then after they put people to sleep who read this, then they just start programming you with the bullet points. So you don't even realize that you're just getting fed about 7 paragraphs of bull crap. Excuse me, boy. And again, it says here, go beyond personal actions like foregoing plastic straws. Direct your energy towards fighting for systematic change. Okay, take part in climate activism, which is what I'm doing here. I'm taking the advice of Wired. It says for all of us to join protests, sign petitions, and talk to our friends and family. Use your vote. You know what I mean? Use your vote. The one that doesn't count, the one that counts, your vote. And then it says one study found that voting conservative in the last Canadian election effectively tripled your carbon footprint overnight. Does anyone not reading between the lines of what this is? Oh man, these people are so dumb. Contact your local political representative. Tell them you think action on climate change is important, okay? That's what we all need to do. So let's all see what we can do to imprison our, to help our carbon footprint and help others. Okay, number 1 is fly less. Okay, flying less because flying is a huge proportion of an individual's annual carbon footprint. If you didn't know, now don't worry about other people's. Just worry about yours. If you sit there and you worry about where Taylor Swift is flying and you worry where John Kerry's, you're a bigot. Okay, and you're I can't use that word, but you're a horrible person. So don't do that. Okay, worry about your own. And if you want to worry about your own and helping, don't fly. Grandma's dying across the country. Don't fly there. Your wife's having a baby and you're, maybe she's in another state. I don't know. Maybe. Who knows, right? Well, don't fly there. Okay? That was a bad example. Your mom is dying a couple states over. Do not go there. Think about the climate first. So fly less. And then ultimately, when you start thinking about fly less, we'll also at the same time hit you with all sorts of news stories about how flying is now dangerous, how passengers are unhinged, how people are standing up the planes causing scenes, how people are opening doors on planes. Those aren't things that are subliminally being put out there as well to make you fly less. Don't think at all that it is. Now, of course, the government doesn't want you to fly more. It has nothing to do with the carbon footprint. It's because they want you to get used to being a prisoner. So that's really what it's about. But nobody really reads between the lines, So fly less, ladies and gentlemen, and ultimately never fly again. Number 2, go plant-based. Obviously, everybody knows that cows fart, and those farts are toxic. So we need to kill the cows. Now, I don't mean just kill the cows to eat them. No, I just mean utterly kill them. So maybe use a laser beam from above on a balloon. They could have one on there, or from a plane, and then they could obliterate all the cows. Then we don't have to worry about their farts anymore. You see, because the farts that are coming out of the cows' butts, as we heard Billy Gates tell us, is absolutely imperative that we make sure they don't fart anymore. So it also would be bad, by the way, if we kill all the cows so they don't fart anymore. Don't eat the meat, because the meat will also affect your carbon footprint, and it'll also give you nutritional value, and we don't want that. So let's all stick with the plant-based stuff, okay? So the food you eat, it is a massive impact on the climate, massive. Food production is responsible for a quarter of global greenhouse gas emissions. They said, what would happen if the whole world went vegan? Well, a study, we had a lot of soy boys. A study from Oxford estimated that there would be a 49% reduction in greenhouse gases. Oh, okay. Now, don't think about the health effects of just being vegan, because we've been told that being vegan is really healthy. Now, you might be somebody out there that doesn't like meat. That's fine by me. You see, I'm a kind of guy, that's what you're going to learn on my channel. You could believe what you want to believe. You could have your own free thought, and you could have your own free speech. Go figure, right? In 2024. Well, here on this channel, you can. Okay, but I don't know if the overlords are going to let you comment and say what you want, but I am. Okay, I promise that. Okay, so what we need is more people to go vegan. So then there'll be more. We also, because studies have shown estrogen spikes with like eating plant-based food, plant-based meat specifically. So men suddenly are just like transitioning without even knowing it. These are all good things. So don't be offended by it, okay? So it goes on to tell us that, what is it saying here? Hold on. Okay, they say a diet heavy in meat is also the heaviest in carbon. Okay, so there you go. So don't eat meat anymore. And if you're, the health benefits of meat, all of a sudden there's no health benefits of meat. There always were health benefits of meat throughout history. Now there's none, so you don't have to eat it. But what we could trust is our scientists, because we trust and believe in science. You better if you're sub to this channel. And the scientists are going to go into a laboratory and make us food in a Petri dish, and we're going to automatically trust it because you can't question the science. Okay, now the scientist could be a mad scientist. He could be Dahmer in disguise. If you question it, you're a bad person. So don't question it. Okay, go along with it or you're horrible and I hate you. Okay, let's move on. Trying to get it all in here. Make your home more energy efficient. Oh, that sounds like a good idea. How do we do that? Okay, to reduce your house's carbon footprint, the most effective thing to do is switching to green heating and electricity. Great. But understandably, this may be too costly for some. But don't worry. The government's literally letting you, when you pay your fake tax, this isn't even legal. When you do that, the government's also letting you have a tax break if you put all this stuff in your house. So lucky for us, right? Whew, what good people. But if you can't do that, it says trapping heat effectively is a surefire way to trim down your energy usage. The biggest producer of carbon emissions in the home. Make sure heat drains like gusty lofts and window frames are fully stopped up. It said stoppered up. Okay. Beyond this, you can make additional efforts to drought-proof your house by blocking the edges of the doors and windows. For example, yeah, why not? You know what would be great? I think we should just use asbestos. They're not saying it here, but why not? If you're gonna shove things between the cracks of your windows, just use asbestos. That's safe too, right? Doesn't science tell us that? That's why it's always been in our homes. Oh man, maybe we should use Agent Orange too. Okay, so it goes on to say replacing your gas boiler can yield important energy gains. And another tip is replacing halogen bulbs with efficient LED bulbs. I think that's a great idea, because not only are LED bulbs really annoying on the eyes, they probably could really blind you, but it's also really cool too, because if we change it to purple LED lights, we could actually see, people glowing. I couldn't help myself. For those that understand, I couldn't, I had to. All right, let's keep going before I get in trouble. Drive less is the next one up. When it comes to short distances, defaulting to a car quickly wraps up your carbon output. For distances over 1,000 kilometers, driving alone actually has a higher carbon footprint. Right, so let's carpool. Duh, for now we could all carpool. Who wants to get in? Right, but I'm assuming we're going to get to carpooling an electric car, right? Because that'd be even better. So it says, but for many, it's important to acknowledge that alternatives are limited. For people based in more rural areas or those underserved by public transport, a car might be the only option to get around. But for city dwellers, there's generally always a better, more carbon-friendly alternative, right? That's why we should all go to cities too, right? Do you guys want to go live in a city with me? Let's all head to the city. Let's give up our cars, okay? And then let's just shelter in place there because there's tons of resources like food and water too. in cities, right? I don't know. Look, some people say I'm dumb. I'm pretty. Doesn't Times Square have a waterfall, natural one, and lakes in there? I think it does. So I think it's a great idea for all of us. So anyway, it goes on to say you could take a bus in a city, a tube, or a tram. You could walk or cycle. Wow, if you are in ownership of a car, you could spread your carbon burden by inviting people to share your commute. Right, so we could share our cars. And then if somebody, rips your car seats up, who cares? Or does anything with your car. And on top of that, first share your car, then share your wife. And then eventually, of course, your infant daughter. Right? Am I allowed to say that? I'm sorry. But let's be real. That's where we're headed. So let's not beat around the bush, right? Let's just assume nobody's listening at this point, especially the algo. But anyway, if you're a frequent car user, consider switching to electric. Of course. Although the electricity you feed in your vehicle will be partly produced by non-renewable energy, electric vehicles are much more efficient, meaning overall CO2 emissions are lower. The lifetime emissions, okay, nobody cares. Let's move on. I mean, how much propaganda could I read at once here? A little bit more, apparently. Here's another one. Buy less. Of course, buy less. How much, do prisoners, they get like small money, right, when they work at the prison yard? And is there a cap on how much they can buy? I think there is, right? They can bring in a pack of cigarettes. I don't know. I've never been there. Don't plan on going, but at this rate, I mean, I guess if I keep talking, those are my options, right? To end up in one of those. But then again, what's the point since our homes are turning into them? So this says buy less. Any new purchase comes with an embedded carbon price tag. Does it? According to 2024, it does. The embodied carbon in everything we buy, particularly single-use or throwaway stuff, has a real big impact on our climate. If you think about your phone, it's all the components, all those metal and plastic parts, and all of the energy that's gotten into it. It's quite a big carbon footprint, and we're buying a new one each year. Indeed, Apple has released figures showing that 80% of a product's carbon footprint is wrapped up in its production process, rather than the energy it consumes once it's completed. Planned? I mean, is this, you know what I mean? I mean, how do people buy this stuff, right? But they trust in these brands, so they would never think that these brands or these corporations like Apple, who, sell their first, computers for $666.66, don't be suspicious, right? They literally, these people they have been so trained to think that, oh, right. I keep forgetting what channel I'm on. I'm going to refrain. Let me get back to the article. See, this is what happens. I'm trying to, deep breaths. Deep breaths, everybody. All right, there's one left. Are you ready? It's a good one. They saved the best for last. Again, the title is Practical Ways to Reduce Your Carbon Footprint That Actually Work. The last one's the most important one. Have fewer children. This one's controversial, yes. Having fewer children does in fact lower your overall carbon footprint. Of course, if you're telling us that the future is going to be hell for children, which it is going to be, based on the people we're allowing to get away with what they're getting away with, of course. But if there's not going to be any children to worry about if you're going to tell us not to have kids, right? So who's you talking about the reptilian kids that are walking around? I mean, is that what we're talking about here? Apparently. Okay, it says one study estimates that having one fewer child is estimated to save as much as 58% of carbon emissions a year. Wow, that's really important to me. The time frame to stop the worst effect on climate change is so tight. Reducing population will not be how we're going to solve the climate crisis. However, it's important that we take into account this, right? Right? If you want to have children, go ahead and do it, the author says. But take into account that having a kid, is it? I mean, they say the time frame to stop the worst effects of climate change is tight. Reducing population will not be how we're going to solve the climate crisis. So can we have kids? Should we not have kids? I don't know. He's saying have fewer kids, but I guess he's trying not to get in trouble with his wording because he doesn't want to sound like a communist, although he is one, because anybody who supports the carbon footprint, of course, is a communist, right? So anyway, folks, that's the stinky carbon footprint. Of course, these are things that we all need to do. Stop being selfish, okay? Fly less. Don't get on a plane. Don't travel, okay? Stay locked in your home. Don't eat meat anymore, but kill all the cows off with a really sharp laser that could burn them all up, and then we can't eat the meat. Make your home more energy efficient, of course, so that you can glow in the dark, so we can make sure that you've got that certain something in you so that you can connect to the web. Drive less, of course. That's an obvious one. Buy less is really important, too. because you're not allowed to own anything. Okay? Period. You'll own nothing. You'll be happy. And along the way, you'll have fewer children. In fact, you won't be allowed to have any. And you won't even have to be told that because you won't be able to have them because nobody will be able to have babies because their parts aren't working properly anymore and nobody's questioning why. So we won't go into detail there. Anyway, folks, you guys are great. You're a great audience. I'll be here all week. Make sure to tip your waitress. Thanks again, everybody. Bye.